Please stand. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call a roll?
Counsel Leahy.
Yeah, here.
Counsel Leary.
Here.
Counsel Mercia.
Here.
Counsel Milanazzo.
Here.
Counsel Rourke.
Here.
Counsel Samaras.
Here.
Counsel Belanger.
Here.
Counsel Elliott.
Here.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yeah.
9 present.
Counsel Leahy.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to do a moment of silence for Robert H. Layton. Robert Layton, Jr., 52, resident of Belvedere section of Lowell, and a member of well-known Lowell family, passed away peacefully after an 11-month courageous battle with pancreatic cancer. He was the loving husband of Margaret Downing Layton, whom they would have celebrated their 27th wedding anniversary on September 29th. Bob was a remarkable person who chose to embrace life even after he was diagnosed with his cancer just under a year ago. His positive attitude, infectious smile, and joy for life carried his family and his friends on a most incredible journey where they were all welcome to be part of it. To the very end, he fought this disease with passion, grace, and dignity. Bob was truly an inspiration to all of us that knew him and will be deeply missed. Besides his wife, Margaret, Bob is survived by his 3 boys, Andrew R. Layton, David M. Layton, and Matthew D. Layton, all of Lowell. He will be sadly missed. Thank you.
Counsel Leary.
Mayor, if we could take 8.1 out of order, there's several speakers on that, if I can motion to do that.
Second.
Okay, if there's no objection, we'll take 8.1 out of order. It's a motion by Counsel Leary, request that the City Council work with the Parks Commission to dedicate a monument at Tyler Park in the name of Walter Bayless. I want the speakers to go first.
Please, thank you.
Nancy Judge.
I don't need a mic. Good evening. My name is Nancy Judge. I reside at 28 Foss Street. I co-chair the Highlands Neighborhood Association, and I am on the board of the Friends of Tyler Park. And I'm here to tell you just a tiny bit about Walter Bayless, because if I had to tell you all about Walter Bayless, we'd be here until tomorrow. So anyways, I met Walter in the late 1980s and considered him a great friend. Walter was a husband, a father, a grandfather, a veteran, a community activist, and a man that loved his country, veterans, and this city of Lowell. Walter lived in the Highlands, owned a business in the Highlands, and for 19 years at the Friends of Tyler Park, have had concerts there. Walter Bayless has been one of our top sponsors and supporters. Free popcorn at every event that we've had. And at this time, the Friends of Tyler Park would like to honor Walter Bayless by putting some type of monument in Tyler Park in his memory. So, as Walter's friend, I would like to ask for your support for this motion and thank Jim Leary for putting the motion on the floor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fred Healy.
Hi, Fred Healy. Wally was my mentor. He was my predecessor. I'm just here to say that I have a friend who is a retired landscape architect from Boston, and I don't know the whole procedural process of how this will transpire, but we will make sure that if we're allowed to do this, whatever monument or tribute we put to Wally will be very tasteful and keeping in character with the park. So with that, that's really all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Campbell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Thank you for allowing us to come before you tonight to talk about a fitting tribute for Walter Bayless. Walter was truly one of a kind, as most of you know, and I have been involved in public life for over 35 years, and including serving as assistant city manager and city manager of this great city. And I don't think I've known any other citizen that has done so much for his community and for his country. Walter, as Nancy mentioned, was a decorated veteran. He received many medals, the Bronze Star with a V device for heroism. He was a chairman of the Lowell License Commission for over 20 years. He was a member of the board of directors of the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. He was a member of Lowell Selective Service Board, past commander and president of the Lowell Veterans Council, member and past president of the Lowell Rotary Club, member and citizen of the Kiwanis Club, and many others. Walter was my friend for over 35 years, and I saw him do some remarkable things for his community over that period of time. Walter was all about helping people and helping his community, and especially issues involving veterans. In addition, Walter brought great credit to the city and a sense of pride to his community, and in many respects, helped Lowell develop its reputation as a first-class mid-sized American city. Let me just give you a couple of examples, and I'll be brief. He single-handedly organized a Loyalty Day parade in downtown Lowell, which received statewide and national publicity. Many felt that this was the largest parade in the history of the city. Walter was one of the chief organizers of a group that brought the Beach Boys here to the city of Lowell, something enjoyed by over 25,000 people, and it's still talked about and written about today. He led the effort to bring the portable Vietnam Memorial Wall to the city of Lowell. Much of it is at his own expense and energy. He organized a rally to support our troops during the first Gulf War that brought the largest crowd in downtown Lowell since the end of World War II. He then turned that effort into an effort to send supplies such as toiletries, candy bars, and other items to our troops. This event ended up on page 1 of Life magazine. Life magazine had millions of subscribers worldwide at that particular time and gave great notoriety to our city. He led a local effort to celebrate veterans returning home from Desert Storm. I can remember going with him to Hanscom Air Base and seeing these soldiers, these young soldiers, getting off the plane and seeing a group of people with American flags and cheering them coming off when many of them thought they would be forgotten. He created the Avenue of Flags in Lowell. People were encouraged to donate their flags to be shown in public on patriotic holidays. He collected, stored the flags. He and his wife Ingrid cleaned the flags and helped put the flags up. I think we may have been the first city in the country to do this, and many, many more followed, and that tradition continues even today. He organized a group of Lowellians to travel to Walter Reed Hospital in Washington. Some of them are in this room to visit wounded soldiers, and they brought suitcases full of toiletries and other personal supplies to send them a signal that they were not forgotten. All of this volunteer work was not just in the past, and even though he was in failing health the last few years, Just this past August, he stood at a local shopping center both days of the weekend to distribute poppies and collect money for disabled vets. His last Christmas, he traveled to the Veterans Cemetery in Bourne with a group to place Christmas wreaths on the graves of veterans. And he organized an effort to place flags on the graves of veterans on Memorial Day. Let me close with this. Walter never wanted credit for his community work. When he turned 70 2 years ago, his friends wanted to have a party for him. He would have no part of that. His wife and family suggested that we just stop by the house and put a balloon on the fence. When I stopped by, I thought I would see a few balloons, and even thought that even though this was a word-of-mouth effort, and he had been retired for a number of years, I was wrong. There were hundreds, if not thousands, of balloons on the fence. That's the way I want to remember Walter Bayless, and I hope you will remember him with this fitting memorial. Thank you.
Council Leary.
Just first, I'm honored to even bring this motion forward. All those things that the former city manager said about Walter Bayless are very true, but Walter Bayless was also a good neighbor and a good person to the Highlands, so it's very fitting that the Friends of Tyler Park are requesting that we have an appropriate memorial for Mr. Bayless. He also had with Fred, they had a fantastic Halloween party at their business, which a lot of, including my own child, had benefited from. This is an individual who gave back, an individual that's a proud citizen of Lowell. He wasn't from Lowell, he came from Fall River. It's someone who came into this city and embraced it as his own. So I think this tribute is befitting of a great man, and more importantly, just a good man and a good neighbor. So I definitely like to make this as a motion to work with the Parks Commission and through the Chairman Mercier and my colleagues to work with Tyler Park and everyone to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Council Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is an excellent motion. Walter Bayless was the best. Anything that you needed in the city, he was always there to help make that happen. He even had containers around in the city to collect top caps so that people would be able to have a benefit out of that. This man was always so patriotic. I didn't know he brought the Beach Boys, but I remember going to see them, and I was so happy. So that's something that I didn't know today. I will be happy to refer this to the Parks and Recreation Subcommittee and then forward it to the Board of Parks and take it all the way to where it has to go. Thank you so much for making that motion. He was a remarkable man, and I'll never, ever forget him.
We could have a roll call vote too, Your Honor.
Sure, absolutely. Is there any further discussion? So would you like your motion to also be referred to the Board of Parks? Okay.
Thank you.
Recently, the city did a granite bench at Shed Park for Donald Brousseau, and that might be something that might be appropriate for Tyler Park. You may take a look at that. It's right in front of the field house at Shed Park, and maybe that would work there too. But if there's no further discussion, roll call.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have the minutes of the special city council meeting of June 8th, the city council meeting of June 13th, the special city council meeting of June 20th for acceptance. Do we have a motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Samaras, second by Councilor Milonazo? Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed? So voted. Next, under communications from the manager, we have items A through E. The first item is the Lowell Police Department summer strategies. Is there any discussion regarding item A? Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Could I have Chief Taylor come to the mic? First of all, Chief Taylor, Superintendent Taylor, I want to thank you for the report. It's exactly what I wanted. But I think each year Chief Taylor's come before us and talked about crime in Lowell and how it's gone down each year. And I know he has that information, the information continues. Police department is aggressive and they're doing the job right. But I think all of us know that every so often there's a spike in crime. And I think in the last couple of months we saw this spike. So Chief, could you sort of talk a little bit about that spike, what you saw in that? But I think our constituents would like to know that even though you've identified the crime is on the decline in Lowell, there are issues that are raised, but what we do as a community, or what we could do as a community to ensure that we don't have a permanent spike. It's just like every community has to expect this at some point in time, but I think it's important to know how aggressive we are, or your police department is, regarding this matter. Could you just touch upon that?
Certainly. Through you, Mayor, to Councilor Samaras. You see in the report, we focus on 3 areas for the summer, and we have done this for several years now, and we will continue, obviously, this year. And our strategies are focused on suppression, investigations, and then what we generally categorize as community engagement and prevention efforts. What I will say in the beginning about some of the incidents that occurred in the spring, we noticed a significant increase in violence in some neighboring communities, some areas just outside the city, other urban environments. That was met with a significant increase in enforcement and police activity in those communities. So the concern that I had, and I think it has bared out in some of the incidents, is some displacement from those other communities where they've significantly increased their law enforcement along with the state and federal partners into those areas. And what you would see, what we have witnessed, is some displacement from those communities looking for a safer, more productive environment for them to conduct their illegal activity. And so we are on guard against that to make sure that that type of activity does not come to Lowell. And that really is a focus of much of our enforcement and investigative efforts. We've done a really good job here, I think, led by the current administration, the city manager and the city council. We've increased our enforcement. We've increased the numbers of the police department over the past several years. And the fruits of that have been significant reduction in crime in the city of Lowell over the past 3 years, to the tune of above 30% reduction during that 3-year period. We do not want to retreat from that. We want to continue the progress, and we want to make sure that we're not complacent in terms of what we see on the horizon. So what we have done is we focused our efforts, first of all, in our patrol and gang enforcement activities. You'll see that we have a very proactive gang unit that has been staffed. We will use grant funds to make sure that that is fully staffed over the summer, and we've done that already for the past month or 2, and that will continue. And we're using Shannon staffing grant money, Shannon grant money that we receive from the state to make sure that that's fully staffed on a nightly basis. They engage not only in street-level interdiction and suppression efforts, but they also, on their own, do a lot of community engagement and engagement with youth in the various areas of the city. Specifically, they're involved in a summer basketball league in the North Common. They do a lot of other interactions. They'll be involved with summer movie nights, which the Lowell Police Department sponsors with some of our other law enforcement partners in the City Parks Department. And we've increased that to 4 this year, so we will have 4 of them. The other thing is crime analysis. They will also be involved in coordinating our activity to make sure we put the officers in the locations that they can do the most good at the most appropriate time. So you see the grant funding will fund through the Shannon Community Safety Initiative, both suppression and community engagement and outreach activities. They also hire a significant number of individuals through the Shannon grant, and that goes through, for example, the city's workforce board on Merrimack Street and various components like that. Also, we have money through a staffing grant, and that will allow us to also put additional uniformed officers in the neighborhoods during the summer months on foot, bicycle, and in the downtown on Segway patrol. And that's an effort to increase our our presence in the community, in the neighborhoods, and also to make sure that we continue to build those relationships and have a deterrent effect. From an investigative perspective, during the summer. Our Special Investigations Section, working with TEA and Mass State Police, along with the other partners, will continue to focus on investigations, both lower level, street level enforcement, and also some of the higher level crime. I think we've seen recently there was a significant investigation that resulted in a large takedown of a large fentanyl trafficking organization in the eastern Massachusetts area. The City of Lowell Police Department played a significant role in that, so we'll focus on that. We also target quality of life crimes in the neighborhood, such as fireworks, noise complaints, that we traditionally see an increase on in the summer months. So we will focus from an investigative perspective on that. And then with respect to our prevention efforts, we do a tremendous job, I think, with our prevention efforts and our community engagement. And you'll see that we work closely with our community partners on summer activities, you know, including but not limited to our Lowell Community Health Center team block with Dance for Peace. We're involved with them and we'll continue that this year. Lowell Boys and Girls Club, we provide staffing and grant funds to them. The West End Gym is also a recipient of grant funds. Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association, Parks and Recreation Department in the city. As I mentioned, the Career Center, Lowell School Department, UTEC, YWCA. And I think really a big thing that we've done recently is summer movie nights. We will have one tomorrow night at the North Common, starting at 6:30. The general theme is an anti-gang and anti-drug theme. So we begin it with a conversation with the people that come, and then after the conversation, we roll into the movie night. We also get a lot of support from that from people in the community, like Coca-Cola and Lowell supplies soft drinks and water. Also, the cinema in Lowell supplies popcorn for us. And just recently, last year, the Markley Group also supplies some funding to help that. We do the LPD Summer Student Police Academy, which is a tremendously popular event that we hold at the high school each year. We have 2 3-week sessions that will start this week. We do a National Night Out, which is the first Tuesday in August. That is 3 different venues around the city, so that's another very good event. And we provide, as I mentioned, summer youth opportunities, hiring opportunities for jobs for youth in the community through the Shanna Grant. So we do a lot, and we definitely do not want to become complacent. We've made too much progress to really let anything roll backwards. We're, absolutely intending not to let that happen and continue the progress we've made.
No, thank you. I mean, this plan shows obviously you're not complacent. And I think what's good for our constituents to hear is that with Shannon money going to be put more offices in the neighborhoods.
That's right.
I think that's important, especially during the summer months. Thank you very much for that report.
Thank you, Councilor. Is there any further discussion on item A? Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Through you to the manager, and maybe while the chief's there, I just was wondering, so this is a great report. It's got a lot of good information and shows us the value we're getting for our dollar here. I did have one other question to ask. Is there any way, I was downtown last Friday again, and I know we've asked this before, is there any other way to get more of a police presence at night with men or women walking the beat? That would be, I think that would just be helpful to everybody in the downtown. I was down last Friday. It was a real lively night. The weather was good. But it would be nice to look up from whatever corner you're on and maybe see, 1 or 2 people patrolling. I know the cars go through, but, even if it were like a 5 to 9 or 5 to 10 shift where people are out parking and walking to the restaurants, it'd be nice to
I think that's-
see a patrolman. If we could work on that.
We will.
If there's any way
We'll
to
work
get
on that.
I think
more
that's a
bodies.
great idea. I was downtown one night and they were walking, and it's much more visible and much more safer when they're walking rather than just
Yeah.
driving in the car.
Excuse me. Yes, we can do
Thank
that,
you.
Councilor.
Any further discussion on item A? If not, we'll move on to, thank you, Chief. We'll move on to item B, the FY 2018 school appropriation. Is there any discussion? Mr. Manager, it's my understanding that you were going to send a communication to the school department regarding that and how that's going to work out going forward?
Yes, we actually met with them today and explained everything to them. Mr. Frisch and Mr. Cassidy, we met with them today.
I think, Mr. Manager, they would like to have something in writing, not because they don't, not because they're not sure of what you told them, but just so that they've got some record, a written record of what's going to happen for them going forward.
Absolutely, we'll send some verification to them in writing.
Okay, thank you. Council Leahy.
Thank you. Sort of related to this with the funding and everything, could we ask the school department through mayor or manager, can we get clarification as we go forward with the school site process where we last week had the vote, 5-4 for Colley. Can we get clarification on what buildings may or may not be turned back to the city? Because that's a big part of the discussion as we move forward. Everyone's talking about, well, yeah, the city can develop this building, we can sell off this building. And so, but we don't have any clear indication on what buildings may or may not be given back to the city. And I think that'll play a big, plays a big role in the discussion as we go forward with the school building process. So I know that they plans where they're gonna keep the freshman academy, but is the 19-2 building, is there discussion on would that go back, or is that gonna be used for administration offices, or is any other building gonna be used for any other purpose? Because again, that plays a big role on where we go forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the FY18 school appropriation? If not,
Just
Council
real quick,
Leahy.
when do we anticipate the final budget from the state to be completed? I think any week now, right? It must be before July. Someone's shaking their head no, but.
No, because last Monday they passed a 1/12 budget,
Okay.
which means they'll fund it at the current level through the month of July, which indicates to me and the former powerful chairman of Senate Ways and Means that they haven't reached an agreement and we'll have to go into the new year to do it. So we're just waiting for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, we'll move on to the Vulgaropolis Memorial Bridge. Any discussion regarding item C? Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very happy to see that I placed a phone call. People wonder probably why I don't have all these motions. Sometimes it just takes a phone call away to just get things done, and that's what I did, and I'm very, very happy and honored for the family of the two brothers to have 2 gold stars indicating that they died in the line of duty. It was a fitting tribute to add these things, their name, instead of just having a last name. So I know it was a state, but we worked with the city to have the manager talk to the state and make this happen. And the family asked me to personally thank you very much for honoring their relatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on item C? If not, we'll move on to item D, the status of the property at 53 3rd Street. Any discussion regarding that report? Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the response from Inspectional Services and the manager's office. But 53 3rd Street is a multifamily in Centerville that in the early spring there was a violent incident that took place, a shooting, and they were suspected to either reside or stemming from this building. So in turn, Councilor Samaras and I walked the neighborhood and got feedback from the residents that many of which chimed in that this property is a problem to the neighborhood. And not to mention it is an absolute eyesore. I mean, violations are visible, and I'm no inspector by any means. And as you would expect, an absentee landlord who resides in Andover, but they did receive a strong message from the city of Lowell, receiving code violations and, yes, minimum maintenance requirements, which this council set forth months ago. So we're using that as ammunition against problem properties like this throughout the city, which is good news. So I await to hear the owner has time to respond and make some upgrades to the property, which is reasonable. So I look forward to a future update on this property to see what comes of it. but it particularly stands out in this neighborhood. It's not very well maintained at all, and it's been a nuisance in our neighborhood for some time. So I look for that to turn around in the very near future. So thank you again, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on item D? Councilor Samaras.
Thank you. Council Belanger gave a complete report on that, but I'd also like to add that whether it's inspectional services or the police department, if they could, in a sense, keep account of how many times a police cruiser is asked to go to that building, and whether it's drug-related. So we'll say, give it a 6-month period to ascertain whether, we really need to step up our actions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on item D? If not, we'll move on to item E, speeding on Draper Street and Arbor Road. Any discussion? Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Through you to the manager. I was hoping Nick would be here tonight, but is there I read the report, is there any chance we could take a look at, because I live in that neighborhood, and this has been going on for a long time. We've had many motions. Is there any chance we could investigate the possibility of either a 4-way stop or reversing the signs? Because it's not so much the Glenwood side, it's the school traffic where people are racing up and down the road. So I don't know if you have to have the same information to reverse, put the stop signs on the Draper side versus the Glenwood side, but that may or may not solve the problem, but I think Glenwood Street is more the neighborhood traffic and Draper Street is more the school traffic where the issue is. So if we could look at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank Superintendent Taylor for responding kindly to this council's request. So the report states the entire month of May, traffic units were assigned to monitor traffic conditions on Draper and Arbor at various times throughout the course of the day. And a total of 12 citations were issued, a few verbal warnings, but most of the offenses were violations and registration equipment violations. And what seems strange is no speeding violations, which is what constituents have reported to me. That's why I filed the motion. So we have Superintendent Taylor. So Superintendent, was this clocked? Were these cars clocked by any chance, or how did this go?
Excuse me. Yes, they use, we have a LiDAR device. It's essentially a laser that checks the speed. So that's how they would do it.
Okay, so you did clock, okay, the entire month, so I appreciate you spending some resources up there. Obviously, we're in the summer months now, but maybe it's something we can get back to. I understand every day is difficult, but maybe when the fall kicks in, we could start in September, send a message early in there. I think that'd be a good idea.
Yes.
Thank you, Superintendent, for your hard work. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on item E? If not, that concludes the responses, the city manager's responses to the motions. The chair would entertain a motion to accept the responses and place them on file by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Samaras. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is a communication to reappoint Dennis Mercia to the Cemetery Commission. Chair would entertain a motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Leary, seconded by Councilor Leahy. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is a communication to reappoint Gerald Largay to the Cemetery Commission. Chair will entertain a motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Leary. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is a communication to reappoint Joseph W. Mullen to the Election Commission. Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Motion to approve by Councilor Elliott, second by Councilor Leary. Discussion on the motion, roll call.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote to accept Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53F, 3/4 PEG, Access and Cable-Related Fund. There's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and go to the second reading, accepting the provisions of the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53F, and 3/4. Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Motion approved by Council Elliott, second by Council Belanger. Discussion on the motion, roll call.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have an ordinance to create a working foreman at the cemetery, manager in parks and cemeteries in the Department of Public Works. The motion would be to... Just take this. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong page. Okay. Excuse me. We're on item 4.2. Vote to accept Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 13E, to establish a reserve fund for special ed. That's the first reading, and the proper motion would be to refer to a public hearing for July 11, 2017 at 7 p.m. We have a motion by Council Leary to refer to a public hearing, second by Council Samaras. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is a vote authorizing the city manager to execute a lease with Main Street, Massachusetts LLC, doing business as the Spinners. Mr. Manager.
Thank you. I think this is a really exciting news and an occasion. First of all, I want to thank Bob Healy, who was the lead negotiator with the Spinners and the University of Massachusetts Lowell relative to this lease. And after extensive negotiations, we've come to a compromise which I think is beneficial to both parties. And the most beneficial part of the whole thing is that we keep the Spinners here in Lowell for another 10 years at a minimum. The Spinners make up a lot of the fabric of the city of Lowell, and to have them present is essential as far as I'm concerned. So it's wonderful to have them tied up for 10 years. Basically, what we're going to be doing, you've already approved in this year's capital plan the ability for us to borrow $1.550 million. And what we're going to do with that money is we're going to replace the field, install new lighting up to baseball standards, and construct a group viewing area in the right field stands. In return for us borrowing that money and doing those improvements, the rent that Mr. Heller and the owner of the Spinners is tantamount to the debt service on that 1.550. So the $192,000 that he pays is going to cover the debt service on that capital aspect. In addition to that, Mr. Heller would like to be more aggressive in the marketing of the LaLasha ballpark. And in the agreement, he gets to keep the advertising revenue inside of the facility, when you see on the outfield walls there, everything. But under this agreement, we're going to market more advertising on the exterior of the building. We're also going to try and market the naming rights of the playing field. And in the agreement, any naming rights of the playing field has to be approved by the city, because we want to keep the honor of Edward A. LaLasha as part of the ballpark. We've already talked to his family about that, and they're agreeable to us that the field can be renamed as long as it doesn't conflict with the honor of Edward A. LaLasha. And so the good thing about that advertising revenue and the naming rights is that money will flow into a ballpark capital fund, which will be used to make further improvements to the facility. So we want to keep generating revenue so that we can keep this ballpark up to standards. In addition, down the road, Mr. Heller has ideas to build luxury suites, doing a great room where people can enjoy the park, and the net revenue from those facilities will also go into the ballpark capital fund. So I think it's a great proposal, and I'm recommending that the City Council approve this. At the same time, Mr. Healy negotiated a new lease with the UMass Lowell, and they'll be there is for an additional 10 years. It's not part of the lease, but it's going to be part of their master agreement. They're going to contribute $85,000 towards the cost of replacing the field at LaLasha Park, and they're going to be contributing $25,000 per year for the upkeep of the facility. So I think it's a great opportunity. I know the attorney for the Spinners is here. He negotiated the lease with Mr. Healy. I know they're in full support of the lease, and I just hope that the City Council approves the lease so I can sign it and move along.
Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. I wish that when all parties were together, sitting around the table, specifically UMass Lowell, that the name of Joanne and Drew Weber came up, because I made a motion some time ago to ask for that walkway into the garage that abuts both properties, if it could be named in honor of two people that started the whole process and made it into what it is today. And yet, I hear nothing from the university. I hear nothing from the spinners. I don't hear anything. And this was at the request of people that work very closely with Joanne and Drew Weber, and I hear nothing. And I'm insulted by it, because these were two great people. So if we could still check into that. I just talked to a commissioner or a member of the commission, board of directors at UMass Lowell, and asked if she would take up this gauntlet and bring it forward, and I just don't see anything happening, and I'm asking.
I'll follow up on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Council Samaras.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, you're right. I want to thank Bob Healy for a great job. I mean, you know, we talk about how important the university is to the city of Lowell, but having a 10-year contract with the Spinners is also very important, because it really makes up where Lowell is today, the growth of Lowell and Lowell's future. And so you helped to ensure, you know, that Lowell's future is going, again, in a positive direction. And I want to thank you for the contract. Actually, if there are many other highlights, I mean, you could spend quite a bit of time given all the highlights that you've developed in this contract. I don't know if there's any others you'd like to add to this as to some of the, you know, the ramifications of some of the opportunities that have been created by this contract.
Well, I think the manager actually summarized them extremely well. The facility is now over 20 years old. It needs work. And the goal from the very beginning, besides retaining the spinners in Lowell, was to also be able to refurbish the ballpark. The stadium lights have been out of compliance with minor league baseball standards for several years. Soon as this lease is approved and the next fiscal year starts, we will order the lights and bid the installation of those lights. The last date that the Spinners need the field is September 14th, and we would commence construction or the installation of the lights on September 17th, I hope. And we will also then, at the same time, bid the complete replacement and leveling of the playing field to coincide with the completion of the installation of the lights, because we don't want heavy vehicles on a new field, but also trying to get the new field down and growing before the ground freezes. So we believe we've got the perfect timing now to do of all that, with the council approving the capital budget. It really is keeping the Spinners in Lowell, obviously the most important part of all of it, but then making any revenues that come back in a reinvestment in the facility is what will keep the Spinners here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is great news to hear that the Spinners are going to call Lowell their home for another 10 years minimum. That is great news. It has really helped give our city a boost. And you know, I've had the luxury and the time to go and meet Mr. David Heller, the new owner of the Spinners, and I'm very, very impressed by him. He is a man who owns 2 or 3 other minor league teams throughout the country. He is very, very capable of getting this team back up and running where it should be, where it used to be in its glory days. You know, Mr. Heller does have his work cut out for him. I mean, I attended a few games in the last year and previous years, and attendance is down. There's no two ways about it. But if there's someone who can get it done, it's David Heller. He is all in here in the city of Lowell. And I look forward to his ownership, and this is a lot of work on behalf of Mr. Healy. Great job, and the manager. This is a break-even proposition for the city of Lowell. but we need to give Mr. Heller the tools to succeed, okay? Because when he succeeds, that team succeeds, and the city succeeds. So this is great news, and he has very, very ambitious plans on top of what Mr. Healy alluded to, that what we approved in the capital plan to help. He has much more ambitious plans for restaurants and first floor, street closings, city events, and it's really, really, the future looks bright over there. I'm glad to see that. I think it's in the right hands over there. I want to thank you and his attorney counselor, Steve Pangiotakis is in the house. I want to thank him. So this is great news for our city. I want to thank all those that are involved. It takes time. But I think in the end, we're going to have a great product under the new ownership of David Heller. So I congratulate him and all those involved to make this deal happen. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you. I know it was a number of months ago, Mr. Manager, that we met in executive session, and it's good to see this lease before us. We know how important the spinners are to the city and the economic development component. On the other hand, we gave you a tall order. We don't want this construction, it is an investment. We don't want the taxpayers to foot the bill. We have businesses coming into the city. Mr. Hill is a businessman. He's a smart businessman. We're glad he came to the city. And knowing that it is a give and take, this is a good deal where taxpayers are not going to pay for it. We do own it. And I think it's a far cry from where we once were, where the taxpayers used to pay for the upkeep, the maintenance and operation. So I think this is good news for the spinners and Mr. Heller, but also good news for the city and the taxpayers that we have revenue that's going to pay for the debt service. So I do think it's important that we're at this point, and people at home know that we have a beautiful facility that I think Mr. Heller is going to bring it back, as Council Belanger alluded to. It's exciting, and it's affordable for families to come in the area. So I think a job well done, and it's good that this is behind us, knowing that we're into the season, and we've locked it in for 10 years. So thank you, Mr. Healy, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Councilor Milonazo, then Councilor Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too plan to support the lease and congratulate all parties involved. I just had a question relative to the net revenue as defined in the agreement, and we have the ability to audit parts of the net revenue as it relates to income from signage and naming rights and so forth. But when you get into the suites and the great room, where whatever percentage of our capital dollars goes into that will come back to us on a pro rata basis. However, income from, I think it said beverages and food and so forth, will not count toward the gross income. So my question is, what does count? What does count if we're going to be able to replenish the capital fund, which I think is a very good idea, and I think obviously it's a good idea that the lease is going to be paying the debt service. But what actually counts for the suite and the great room as far as revenue is concerned? If they're taking food and beverage away, I guess that's my question. Again, I fully intend to support it. I'm a little confused as to what. I mean, it could be rental. It could be the businesses could come in and rent it, businesses come in and then we can get a pro rata share of the rent.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
Is the cost to rent the room.
Right.
And that is the net revenue.
And I would think there'd be a great demand for that. I mean,
Yes.
I really believe that. So I think we'll be able to replenish the capital fund
Right.
as we go forward with that income. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Lee.
Thank you. I think this is a good contract, and I'm also going to vote for it. But I did want to mention that at the time this came up, my father was here, and it was important to him that the university didn't pay any type of rent to use the field. So I'm glad that that's still, in the contract and that it still works out. It is a maintenance fee that goes along with it, but there's a lot to upkeep to a ballpark like that. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, we'll do the second reading, authorizing the city manager to execute a lease agreement between the City of Lowell and Main Street, Massachusetts, LLC, doing business as the Lowell Spinners, relative to the use of the Edward A. LaLasha Park in the City of Lowell for use by the Lowell Spinners. We have a motion approved by Council Leary, second by Council Milonazo. Roll call.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote authorizing the city manager to execute a permanent easement with the city to the LRTA to access way and billboard area. If there's no discussion, if there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading, go to the second reading. Authorizing the city manager to execute a permanent easement with the city of Lowell to the Lowell Regional Transit Authority to encroach upon the city property located as the access way and the billboard area collectively referred to herein as the easement premises in the city of Lowell. Do we have a motion to approve? By Counsel Mercia, second by Counsel Belanger. Discussion on the motion, roll call.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote authorizing the city manager to execute an access agreement with 350.4 Dutton Street. The Walker Parking Consultants Incorporated. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading. And the second reading is authorizing the city manager to execute an access agreement with the city of Lowell and the Walker Parking Consultants relative to 350.4 Dutton Street in Lowell, Massachusetts. Do we have a motion to approve by Counsel Belanger, seconded by Counsel Mercia? Counsel Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sounds like some good stuff's going on, Mr. Manager. Is this the, for the design of the garage purposes, it looks like?
Yes, excellent question. This is, we're in the design process of the new garage in the Hamilton Canal Innovation District. In order to design the garage, Walker Company has to do geotechnical studies in the soil, so this is an access agreement that allows them to go on our land to do those studies.
Okay, will this determine, I'm thinking the answer is yes, that we're gonna, we may need to go down a level or two in this garage. Is that what we're more or less exploring, Mr. Manager, with these tests?
Yes.
Okay, because that would obviously give us more parking that would be ample. So, okay, I look forward to this. Obviously, it's understandable they need access to the property, so thank you for the update.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Counsel Leary.
Just kind of off of this a little bit, but, so this will be 150 days when they come up with the design of it essentially, is that correct? So November, October, November. What time frame do we anticipate actually going out to bid to begin the project?
I'd ask Diane Trad to come up to. What Councilor Leary is asking is when will we be going out to bid?
The design will be finished by next spring, and then we'll go out to bid, so it'll be, I think construction will be completed in 2019.
Okay, so in time for the judicial center. I guess the other question I had, we're putting it up near, I guess, at the far end of the Innovation District, right? Near, I guess, Canal Place.
Right, right.
Is there any thought to bringing it out more towards the center of the project? I don't know if that's something, I know there's a lot of different, what are those hurdles if we decide to move that location or make it a bigger than a 900 garage?
Well, I don't think, I think we need it where it is right now, and I don't think we can meet it, but what we are looking at is building another garage near the Judicial Center.
Okay.
We're negotiating with DCAM right now because right now, if we just built a garage on parcel one, is it? One. We'd only be able to build about 300 spaces. But if we can acquire a little bit of land from DCAM on the judicial site, we could build an 800 to 900 space garage there. So that's what we're looking at. But we can't move the one we're constructing, but we're looking to develop another one.
So approximately, you're looking at then almost 2,000 spaces then at that point in time, right? Is that roughly the goal? Or less, or maybe
Probably
18?
about 1,600.
1,600,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, that's really the way, I mean, this is good. So so basically we're talking right before the Judicial Center is built, this will be in place. The other garage, in terms of next to the Judicial Center, what time frames estimated?
That's still in its infancy because in order to do it, we have to acquire the land from DCAM and they haven't agreed to that yet, but we're still negotiating with them.
Okay, and I guess just to kind of, I think it's good. I guess the other offshoot is and it's probably a larger question we probably shouldn't be talking about right now, but, because it's a little off topic, but other parking garages in the city, where are we with the other facilities that we desperately need at this point?
We desperately need a new parking garage in downtown Lowell. We've looked at raising the Lower Locks garage, but more importantly, we're looking at the Davidson Street lot as a potential spot to put a garage.
Have we ever thought of this side, and just to under with this, but this side of the Merrimack Street, I mean, in terms of, like, over by the library and behind in that area, has anybody looked, because there is no real parking garages on this side behind City Hall.
we
And
certainly
it's
could,
probably for
yeah.
further discussion, but
Yep.
I am pleased to see this get moving because it is questions that folks are asking us. And I like the idea of looking at another parking garage because you're going to need, 20 to 2,500, maybe even close to 3,000 different parking areas in this place if it, when it does actually take off. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further, Councilor Leahy?
Just quickly from what Council Leary said, the Santerre Bank, are they leasing that from the city, or that property, do they own it? Not sure.
I don't really know. I can find out for you, though.
Because I thought that might be city-owned property, and when they leave, or I heard that they might have a lease on that, that could be a potential spot for a garage over in that section.
Let me look into that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next is a vote authorizing the continuation of the departmental revolving funds for fiscal year 2018. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading. The second reading is authorizing the continuation of fiscal year 2018 of the 7 revolving funds listed in this vote. Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Motion by Counsel Elliott, second by Counsel Mercia to approve. Discussion, roll call.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote authorizing the city manager to execute a lease with Bon Marché Trust in the care of Nick Saris, and lease at 155 Merrimack Street. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading. And the second reading is authorizing the school department to proceed under the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30B, for lease of property for the Lowell Public Schools central offices. We have a motion to approve by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Samaras. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. $414,000, and I'm thinking that sometime in the future, if we acquire, through the motion that someone was alluding to, what buildings can we develop, what buildings do we not have any say on? I'm certainly sure that one of those historic buildings, there's nothing probably that we could do, but wouldn't it be nice if we took the people that work in this particular Bon Marché building, and we put them over to the old 1922 building or whatever building that we're not going to rehab or tear down, and we could put these people in it and save $414,000, which by that time might be $500,000. So we would put in the people because we own that building. So I think that would be a good idea looking for the future.
Thank you. Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councilor Mercia, but to the contrary, we're the ones that wanted the school department downtown, and, you get what you want. So we are, to Councilor Mercia's point, paying a high rent. There's no two ways about it. Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager, now, are we on both sides? Because we're also on Mr. Bertos's property, too. So is this expanding our square footage we're renting? What's going on here?
No, this is actually consolidating the operations, as we have terminated the lease with Mr. Bertos, and Mr. Frisch, you can probably explain it better, but
Sure.
we're now taking those people and bringing them over, putting them on the 5th floor of this building and consolidating the operations, correct, Mr. Frisch?
That is correct. This is a better deal for the school department because we were paying between the two offices $423,000. Now with this lease, it's down to $414,000 just for the 155 Merrimack Street, Bon Marché building.
Okay, so there's a slight bit of savings there, which is always good. Now, what's the terms of this thing? How many years, Mr. Frisch, may I ask?
It's a 3-year deal with options for 2 more years.
Okay. All right, well, again, Councilor Mercia's point, maybe the school does vacate, we could either go to the freshman academy or the 1922, because and they'd still be downtown. We just have the luxury of still keeping the administrative offices downtown, but, so we at least have a 3-year lease to fulfill on behalf of the city, but I think nearing the end of that term, maybe we should start looking at other sites that are hopefully within the downtown. But it is a high number, I'll say it once again. But thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you. I just want to go on record that I understand that the landlord is a very good landlord, and that the rent looks like it's fixed for the 3 years. And if you take the square footage and divide it into the dollar amount, it's only about $11 a square foot. So even though it is a lot of money, it's still a reasonable per square foot cost. And I think it obviously doesn't disrupt the school department going forward. So again, Mr. Saris and his partners have been good property owners, and I just want to acknowledge that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. It is a good deal, and on the school committee, we went through this years ago when we had to make tough decisions. But again, I just want to make sure that as we move forward with the new high school, that this money will be a savings, but you're going to have to come back to us, Mr. Manager, with the report, right, on how, when we do repairs to the 1922 building, will this, like, future rent go towards some sort of loan pay down? And then, so maybe after whatever, 6 years, it'll kind of be a savings to the school department, but we are going to have to do some sort of repairs to that 1922 building, right? And then, so we'll figure out how we're going to balance that all in, and then, okay. Because eventually, it'll be a good savings for the school department if they decide to use that building. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, roll call.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
Next, we have 6 transfers of monies that we can bundle together if there's no objection, waive the second reading. Hearing no objection, the chair would enter, the transfers are like this. $1,786,600.56 for the balance of the snow and ice deficit, $206,095.03 to provide funding for medical expenses for active police and fire, transfer of $20,000 for Disability Commission annual funding, $26,035 for the Spinners Capital Fund, $64,463.89 for the year-end payroll, and $748,893.03 for the MSBA. So we have a motion to approve by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. Yes. Councilor Elliott.
I just had questions, or a brief, if I can get a brief explanation from the city manager. Just on the snow and ice, the 1.7 million, 1.8 million. Is that for this year? Does that clear where we are at? I know in the snowstorm of 2015, we had such a large snow and ice deficit that we amortized it, or we paid it off in a various number of years. Can you just give us an update on where we are?
Sure, absolutely, Councilor. The $1.78 million balances out the fiscal 17 snow and ice. So in the fiscal 18 budget, we'll still have $134,000 from the fiscal 15 storm that we amortized, but we're not carrying anything forward from fiscal 17 into 18.
And what was that debt that we had from that, that winter we never wanted
From
to
15?
remember? Yes.
Somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 or $6 million, we were able to net out the reimbursement we got from FEMA.
Right.
But it was significantly more than anything we've seen in recent memory.
It's good. I mean, it's good news. We're clearing out the snow and ice. It's not going to be anything with the exception of $136,000. So that's good news. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And the 206, Mr. Mayor, just one more. And the transfer of $206,000 to provide funding for medical expenses. Just closing out expenses from, again, 2017.
Yes, Councilor, these are for 17 expenses for 111F surgeries for active police and fire personnel.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next is an ordinance to amend the zoning and extend the LI zone to include 25 Only Street. The motion would be to refer to the planning board for report and recommendation and to the city council for a public hearing on July 25th, 2017 at 7 p.m. Do we have a motion to that effect by Council Leary, seconded by Council Milonazo? Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? So voted. Next is item 5.2 is an ordinance to create a working foreman cemetery manager in parks and cemeteries for the Department of Public Works. The motion will be to refer to a public hearing for July 11th at 7 p.m. We have a motion by Council Leary, seconded by Council Belanger. All discussion, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. Next, under subcommittee reports, the first subcommittee report is for Parks and Recreation Subcommittee for the meeting of June 27th. Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First off, we had 2 items on our agenda this evening. We met at 5 o'clock in the City Council chamber. Present was State Representative David Nangle, Commissioner/Assistant City Manager Tom Belgard, Deputy Director, Admin and Finance, DBW, Jim Troop. My colleagues, Danny Rourke, were present, as well as John Leahy. This was a motion referred to us at the council to the parks from City Councilor John Leahy, as he spoke to State Representative David Nangle about the Knott Park that's over on 150 Douglas Road. And every year, State Representative David Nangle expressed that every year for the past 18 and 19 years, the state earmarks money from the budget and it puts into projects in different areas of the city. And so part of that money was earmarked for the city with an idea from Representative Nangle to take that park and see if we could make it into a much more vibrant area and make a veterans park out of it. And he said that it came a thought to him when he was down in some resort area, and he was walking through the town, and he noticed that they had a beautiful park facility there for the veterans, and he thought what a good idea it would be to revitalize that area, because in 1936, that park was donated by the Knott family, and they asked, they gave it to the city, and I thought that that would be a great way to honor our veterans. $125,000 was already earmarked to the city of Lowell from the state, and that has been received by the city. And we have several different ideas. This is a report of progress because there's still ideas in the making. A lot of this will come. We need to raise like $500,000, and Representative Nangle says that we have 125 now. The state is proposing, if there are no more 9C cuts, that they would probably get another 125,000. There's a commitment from many private individuals to donate money as well. I think we're going to be putting together, through David Nangle, some sort of a commission to see where we can have fundraisers and things to make that happen. Tom Belgard, our Commissioner of Parks, had so many good ideas. He had a whole brochure of things that he put together. So there's still discussion on ways that we could have things happen. And it would be a commitment also with the school system to bring different classes in to show them what veterans are all about in the different branches of service. And it would be an important educational component where every school would probably visit it. And we could even have such a commission whereby we have ideas from the students and they offer their input as well. So this was an unbelievable meeting that we had. Now, when we talked about that, David Nangle was very excited. He said that this could happen. Before, as I get through this, he spoke with the rest of the delegation who are all on board with this. So that was the report of progress. And also, Rep. Nagel also said that he didn't just decide to put it there. He spoke with the neighborhood group. He attended one of their neighborhood meetings some time ago. He met with the neighborhood group and John Green. He also said that he did speak to abutters, that are neighbors that are abutting, because it's very important to have communication with any project that we have so that next door neighbors aren't seeing like a city equipment coming in there and not knowing what's going on. So everybody's on the same page with that. So we had a motion to refer this to the Board of Parks. They will be meeting tomorrow evening and we will have it on the agenda. I intend to attend that, and if my colleagues have any more to add to it. That was the first item. The second item was something that came before us just about a week ago. It was at the request of Lise and Ed Zapatka, and their parents of the 27-year-old young woman who passed away through an accident. And they wanted me to share this with you about their daughter, Amber. She went to St. Michael's School where she played basketball, volleyball, she learned to ski, and she even convinced the boys to let her even be a quarterback in the schoolyard football. She played Lowell youth soccer for SJA basketball. She played, for over 10 years, she played basketball. She played Lowell youth soccer. She also was an altar server at the 7 a.m. Mass on Sundays at St. Michael's. She was a member of the Lowell High School class of 2006, including the Latin Lyceum, ROTC, and the TV production. She was an avid swimmer. She played soccer. She skied. She was a member of the row team. She earned the opportunity to compete in the Nationals in Indianapolis 3 times. She graduated from UMass Lowell with a master's degree in plastics engineering. And she was just a remarkable young lady, and people, her co-workers, friends, everyone had asked if we could do something in her memory to honor her memory. And it is my understanding, I brought this to Tom Belgard, he said that there would be no more of a fitting tribute than the cross-country fitness course over at the Shed Park picnic area at the Pine Arts School. It would be an honor because she epitomized all the sports. She was always involved with any kind of sports, and we could name that cross-country fitness course in memory of Amber Zapatka. Her father is here. I know he was very emotional and made everybody else feel the way that he did. I know that last week we attended a beautiful ceremony at the Mulligan Park. It was a wiffle ball court that was named after Calvin Riley. Tom Belgard and his crew did a remarkable job of making that happen, and the motion was made if we could have this Shed Park picnic area cross-country fitness course named in memory of Amber Zapatka. That would be a fitting memory to her name. If I could I did make the motion, Councilor Danny Rourke seconded it. If we could have a roll call to see if my colleagues would support that motion.
Okay, so the motion will be to support the motions out of the subcommittee and also to have your report be a report of progress.
Yes, and also if it passes, I'd like to send it to the Board of Park for tomorrow evening to speak about it.
Okay, and that's seconded by Councilor Rourke.
Thank you.
Discussion, Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you. I will support the motion. I just have a question. The second item was actually brought up under suspension. Again, it was brought up under suspension, but again, it was not on the agenda. My question is, how can we vote on something and then 24 hours later it's before another public body? I just don't understand how we can do that. I mean, I'll support it, but I just don't understand how it can be voted on and then 24 hours later it gets in front of a public body.
Well, they meet once a month, so if you have a problem with that,
It's just, I don't have a problem
then
with
we'll
it. I
put
just-
it on for the following month. I'll just cancel it off for tomorrow's meeting, because I have other things to talk about there.
It's just a question. I'm not suggesting that it be put off. I just didn't know if the Board of Parks had a different open meeting law than we do.
Or if you vote on it tonight, you would be passing the motion that you vote on tonight. You know, to the extent that it arises out of the agenda item, I think you could do that.
Okay.
You could also vote to put it before the Board of Parks tomorrow for their vote.
Fine, okay. I'll be happy to amend it sort of before the Board of Parks for tomorrow night, if that's okay with the maker of the motion.
Okay.
It was the original motion is what it was.
Well, anyways, I think we're all in agreement, so let's just be happy about that for the time being. Is there any further discussion? Roll call?
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next is the subcommittee report for technology and utilities for a meeting held on June 27, 2017. Counsel Leary.
Just, Mayor, if we could refer this to July 11th, because we'll be getting a proposal from the manager regarding Verizon's proposal.
Okay, so there's a motion to refer this report till the July 11th meeting by Counsel Leary, seconded by Counsel Leahy. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next under petitions is a petition for Nick Sparrows of Lowell Burger Company to request the installation of an overhanging sign at 143 Merrimack Street. Mr. Manager?
Yes, I just wanted to point out, I think this is a very good happening here. This isn't like the type of burgers I cook out on my back grill. This is a high-end burger facility that's going to be serving craft beers, which I think is going to attract a great crowd. It's taking the place of the old Bishop's Legacy restaurant, so we're filling up another downtown vacant storefront. So it's great news, and I'm really looking forward to the opening of the burger restaurant.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. We have a motion to approve by Counsel Elliott, seconded by Counsel Leary. The motion is referred to the Law Department for report and recommendation by Counsel Elliott, seconded by Counsel Leary. Mr. Manager, I think everybody assumed that there were high-end burgers up on Newbury Street. All in favor of the motion? All opposed? So voted. There are 2 items on from the National Grid that can be bundled together if there's no objection. The first one is a requested installation of a pole and anchor located at 144 Chumsted Street. And the second one is to request the installation of one JO and SO pole located at Gorham Street, and one SO stub pole on Newhall Street, and one JO pole on Ellsworth Street. The motion would be to refer to a public hearing on July 11th at 7 p.m. by Counsel Samaras, seconded by Counsel Milonazo. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted.
Your Honor,
Next, yes.
while we're on polls, I just had a question for the manager.
Sure.
Where are we with anybody coming in to speak? Because the pole actually, like on Andover and Nesmith Street, that they told us needed to be replaced. And it is a danger. I mean, when are they gonna finish with that? If one more truck hits that and it falls on a car.
They're coming in July 11th, both National Grid and Verizon, to address the council on the double poles. I did get a preliminary report from them. Verizon took over the responsibilities of removing double poles. And since May 15th, they have removed 186 double poles in the city of Lowell, and there are 180 double poles remaining, so we will have them address what the plans are for that other 180 on July 11th. And hopefully they will have removed some of those, especially the one at the corner of Viola and Stevens.
That one is gone. They took
Okay,
care of Viola Street. That's good.
And which one are you talking about?
The one at Andover and Nesmith, that
Andover.
it looks like it's a half a stick standing there.
I will certainly suggest to them when they make their public appearance that has been resolved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Counsel. Next is a motion by Counsel Leary and Counsel Leahy request that the Municipal Facility Subcommittee meet monthly to review the list of outstanding school maintenance tickets and determine a timeline of completion. Counsel Leary?
essentially speaks for itself, but I think at the end of the day, we keep having this issue round and round, and I think would be a good way of resolving it is actually looking this monthly. You know, there's a, excuse me, you know, one example of ongoing ticket orders that don't get resolved, I was at my kid's, in September, I was at his parent function, you know, just a parent-teacher conference, and there was 2 windows that were boarded up. So I sat through September, I didn't say a word, didn't say anything. I came back in April for the second one, the same 2 windows were still boarded up. So I asked the teacher, like, why is anybody doing anything about it? And she says, well, we keep calling on it, and they keep telling us that, you know, it's gonna get done. That's not acceptable. Now, if there's a resource issue on our end that we need to do something as a city council, then we need to make adjustments to that. But the bottom line is tickets cannot be going never-ending addressed. And I think this will set, you know, really put some light on it in terms of resolving it. That school's not the only issue, it's across the board. If there's something like in terms of resources, which I think at the end of the day, we're gonna come down to a point where our resources aren't sufficient, fine. But let's at least see what that is so we can really have a discussion about that. And I think monthly until these start to get resolved is a good way of resolving it. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Council Leahy?
Thank you. There's not much I can add to that, except that, you know, once we start a dialogue with this and we have Mr. Bellegarde with us, maybe we can come up with a more effective way of handling this. You know, I'd like to ask that when we have these discussions, maybe we can get some of the principals, we can get some input from the school department on how we can be more effective at handling some of this. So, you know, again, we're just gonna keep going forward and trying to solve this problem, so, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a good motion. I think it should go to the subcommittee. Are the tickets, or I guess in my world, work orders, are they on a computer system and they can be tracked? Is there any way that we can check with maybe other school districts to see if they have, it pops back up automatically if it's outstanding for 30 days? And then it, you know, it does other things if it's out longer. But to hear Councilor Leary say that in September he went to the school, in April the windows were still boarded up, I mean, he's correct. I mean, that is unacceptable. So I guess I'd be curious to see what type of work order system we actually do have and how easily you can push a button, if you will, and get the report.
We do have that, and I'll check to see if we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion is by Council Leary and Council Leahy. Requests the city manager review the feasibility of hiring an outside consultant to maintain and repair the city school department's HVAC and boilers. Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Again, this is just another way to handle this, just a different approach, because in the past, you know, let's face it, every year we seem to have issues with our heating systems and HVAC issues. These boilers and these components just get more complicated every year, every 5 years. So maybe it's time that we get some bids, take a look at it, see how we can handle this. In the past, we've talked about some of our own department guys taking the boilers apart to clean them, and then we hire someone else to come in and put them together and calibrate them. But sometimes that's not the best way to go about it, because the parts aren't all in the right places when another company comes in to put the boiler back together. And just talking with different people in the trades, it just would be easier to have one person handling the items, the boilers, the AC units and everything like that. So this is a discussion we should have, and you know, maybe initially it might cost us a little more money, but in the long run, once we get into some sort of a pattern here, it may be better off for the school, for the city, as far as the headaches go. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion?
Just real quick, just to build off of that, I think part of this is a larger discussion regarding, you know, we talked about having a motion to pass for feasibility of a maintenance department. This fits into that discussion, kind of the same thing. I think you're dealing with very, you know, the technology that goes into this now is very much developed compared to what it would have been 30 years ago. We're talking about building a high school that we spent an inordinate amount of months regarding. We have other schools that are on the list and other city buildings that have been there like 20, 30, 40 years old. That's going to start costing us a lot of money as well. We have to ensure that we're successful at maintaining our HVAC and boilers. It may not be the most appropriate way of doing it, but in a larger discussion, we have to change how we're doing business. I'd like to see it rolled into our department, but I don't think our department right now, from a management standpoint, is aligned right to make that happen. And we also may not have the proper resources to actually make things happen correctly. So I think this is something we need to discuss as we make these adjustments. If we don't make these adjustments, it's going to cost us a lot more money down the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further, Councilman Nazem?
Again, another good motion. Is Amoresco still involved, working with the city on the energy side? I didn't know if they were still providing any technicians looking at our school buildings and/or the city buildings. I think it was a 20-year contract, if I recall, with Amoresco.
Amoresco still is retained annually to do the measurement and verification of the systems, but their involvement in terms of other maintenance is slim, if any.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Council Leahy.
I forgot to mention that, I did want to say that in previous conversations with the manager, you are well aware of this, and you've talked about this, at least to me, that, this is a problem that you do want to tackle. So I didn't want it to seem like we're not doing anything, and I wanted people to know that you are, at times you've come to us and, talked to me about it and say, this is something we need to tackle. So, once we get our handle on this, it would be a lot better for the school department and the city. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, all opposed, so voted. The next motion is by Council Leahy. Request the city manager update the city council regarding the needle pickup program. Second by Council Leahy. Council Leahy.
Thank you. This motion pretty much speaks for itself. If you could just give us an update on where we're going with this needle program. I know that we're in talks with our own unions on it, and it sounds like a great idea because they're out there, they're in the field. They don't have to wait to call it in and have someone else come out and deal with it. So if you could just give us an update at the next meeting, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's a great motion. It's a very timely one in the sense that just about a week and a half ago, I received calls from parents that in Little League fields, they're finding needles now in Little League fields. And this is common throughout the Commonwealth. I'm hearing this all over the place, but it's Lowell that we're worried about. So, Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager. Mr. Manager, now wouldn't this having our own TPW crews, even the training and the overtime be less expensive in the end than bidding and hiring an outside firm to do it, and it'd be more timely a fashion, it'd be more routine? So would you agree with that, and how close are we with the union to getting this done? This needs to get done sooner rather than later.
Mr. Belgard has been negotiating with the unions relative to this. He has another meeting on Friday, but we'll be giving you a report at the next meeting on the status of it.
Okay, would you agree it would be less expensive to have our crew?
I haven't done the I haven't done the research to agree at this point in time. It may be in the end, but as I sit here right now, I can't agree to that.
Okay.
But we'll certainly look into it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor? All opposed? So voted. That concludes the agenda. Are there any announcements? Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn by Council Milonazo, seconded by Council Samaras. All in favor? All opposed? Stand adjourned.